Friends, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Ask a Designer. We're so happy you're here, either live with us in the chat. We're going to keep an eye on you over the next hour, or watching the replay. And hello to Izzy. How are you, my friend?
Oh my goodness, this is my favorite time of the week because I get to spend time with you.
I feel the same way. And I should say, before we jump in and actually start creating, to all of our friends that are in Florida, like me, be safe today and over the next few days. I am understandably distracted at the moment with everything that's happening, but I like this distraction, Izzy, because I'm ready for it. I'm in Orlando, as some people may know, so we're just staying put, but our friends in Tampa have evacuated. So it's kind of a scary time, but at least with Adobe Live, we get to escape for the next few minutes. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to make it fun, right, Izzy?
Oh, we will. We'll see. We'll see. I
So
don't like web
we'll
pages,
see.
but we'll see. Yeah.
Yes, that's actually hilarious. So we, on this show, since we come back every single week, we try to tackle rather something new and something different. We've tackled, gosh, lots of social media templates. Last week we did a food menu. There's this content type in Express that often gets kind of glazed over, which is a web page. And I thought that would be really fun for us to tackle today. Web pages and websites are certainly a client deliverable that I've had as part of my agency for years. And a lot of people don't know that you can actually create this in Express. So that's what we're going to do today. Friends, we will we're in the process actually of updating our remixable template, which is always linked in the description of our show. Also, stay tuned. We're going to be working first on a mood board, then we'll move to the webpage today. But I've got a challenge coming up that's going to be brand positioning and mood boards about 30 minutes after this stream ends, which you'll also be able to check out or watch the replay. Izzy, you're handing the baton over to me
Yes.
this month for challenges.
Yes. It's like you get the best of both worlds. Oh my goodness, I could not say that. The best of both worlds for
I'm
the month of
also
September.
tongue-tied
Yeah.
today too. We'll just do
Oh
our
my
best, Izzy.
goodness.
We'll do our best.
Yes.
So anyone who's tuned into the show, by the way, hey Wade, hey Parva, hey Vandal, hey Idara, we got a whole friendly crew here today. We need you, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be working with you today on this webpage. Izzy and I bring our real life clients to the table. Izzy, I'd say today might be the first little exception to that because it's not my client, but it happens to be my family member, my sister, Kristen. Let's hear from her right now to set up today's challenge.
Hi, Phil. Hi, Izzy. Nice to meet you. So I'm not a client of Phil's, but I am calling in a sibling favor because he is my big brother. He calls me Kristen. Pretty much everybody else calls me KP. I'm in law school and I've been hoping to create a simple website that I can use to showcase my portfolio, especially some technology things that are more complicated than just a Word document. Can you guys help me with that? Phil's always talking about Adobe Express, and I thought it might be a good platform. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Okay, challenge accepted, Kristen. Isn't it true, Izzy, that we have our real life client project? How often do family and friends lean on you and say, hey, can you help me with this thing? You can't exactly say no.
Oh my goodness. It happens all the time. Or sometimes it's even like, can you look at this? Tell me, I did it myself, but like, does it make sense? And you're like, oh gosh, how do I tackle this? I'd prefer them asking me, to be honest. So I like this.
I like it too. My new answer is yes, I can help you, especially if I can turn it into a live stream, which is exactly what
There
we're
you
doing
go.
today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to start on the homepage of Adobe Express. I should mention, we actually mentioned this at the top of last week's show, that they are A/B testing a new design for this beautiful homepage. I was a lucky recipient of the updated design and I am loving it. So if you see some new things that have shifted around, that is likely the reason. So my sister is a perfect example of someone that is starting with not a ton of creative inspiration or assets. So what I have on screen, headshot. What I also have, resume. Okay, not particularly. I actually love the headshot, but the resume can be a tricky one for inspiration. But I'm going to show you today, friends, that you don't need a lot to start with. That is like the whole hypothesis of today's show, is that the most important thing is to just take action, just get started. And a website or a web page is what we're working on today, is something that you can absolutely create in Adobe Express. And we're going to do it in under an hour. And where I'd like to start with my dear friend Izzy is on a mood board. This, I feel, I don't know, Izzy, actually, if you agree with me. I bet you do. We usually agree on things like this. This, for me, is like the starting point of every creative project. So what I like to do when I'm doing a mood board is pop in the photo of the client, and then we'll typically just build around that. Do you start with mood boards, Izzy?
Oh my goodness. I start with strategy first, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because then it inspires the mood board. But yes, the mood board to me is kind of the pivotal moment for the client, because it's like, hey, from what you have told me and what we have written down, is this the proper mood that you want everything to look like? Here's an example, here's the color palette. And it's like it can dictate the direction on where to go. It's so important.
It is so, so important. When I'm putting together a mood board for a personal brand, I'll typically pop in a headshot, even an older photo of someone if I wanted to. If I wasn't sold on these kind of purple, dark tones in the background, I could one click remove background, pop in a different background if I wanted. But I actually really like those tones to inspire our website today. Are you on the same page as me?
It's serious and it's rich. Purple usually is like, it means like
Rich,
technically it
usually,
means rich and royalty
and
essentially.
royalty.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that from Sunday school a lot of years ago. Okay, I think that's the only thing I remember. Um, in the instructions here for this mood board, I tell people, hey, you can open Pinterest and search for 8 images total. I think that's what we need really on a
Mhm.
nice cohesive mood board. I see your cursor whirling around because you're definitely going to help me with this. I think
Yes.
I'd like to like prove a point, Izzy, with this mood board. And let's only pull images, I think, from Adobe Express here under the media tab. I think you found a few that we can definitely use, which we can
Mm-hmm.
pop in. And let's kind of like talk through maybe together how we would compile a mood board. One of the awesome things in Adobe Express, let me mention really quickly, is that Izzy and I are co-creating live. So we have both been shared on this document. And this is a really good use case or example of how we can actually work together as a team creatively, really as the starting point of this project, which is going to be a mood board.
How about
Here
this
we
for
go.
logo?
I love it. I love it. So you'll see Izzy placing some images there. I typically crop them as a square. There's really no rhyme or reason here. You'll see that I have example prompts. Okay, I'll actually just show you these. So we have, this is if you're kind of like, I'm not really sure even what to search for in Pinterest, Behance. I know we're live streaming on Behance. That's one of my very favorite websites for inspiration. Um, these prompts can be useful for you. So typography example, brand example, and then I give you an example here like adjective brand design. So it could be serious brand design. I would type that into places like Pinterest, Behance, or other creative sources. In the meantime, I'm going to hop over to media. I'm going to go to photos and I'm going to type law. So my sister's in law school. And right away, by having this image right here for inspiration, I'm noticing something like this will pick up those kind of violet tones. And when you're putting together a mood board, it doesn't have to be a perfect fit, if that makes sense. It doesn't have to be an exact color match. Like Izzy, I love that you've got this nice navy here um, with the little law symbol.
Do we want a statue of you know that statue that is like law with the balance? No, how you call that this here?
I
It's
think
a
it's
it's
like
a
the scales. Is
the
that called
scale. Thank
scales?
you. Yeah, in balance is in French. So my brain is
Well, you can
definitely
say it in
not.
French.
No, in balance. My brain is definitely not computing today, so
Don't
we'll
worry. I'm
we'll
leading
do
us
our best.
today.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all we can do, right, friends? That's all we can do is our best. Hey, Robert. Hey, Leah. We got some friends in the house today. Kristen says
Yes.
purple is actually the color to represent the study of law in the USA and a number of other countries. Little known fact.
That's
Did you know
really
that,
good
Izzy?
to know. No, I didn't know
I didn't.
that.
I did not know that, but I'm digging it. So you will know from previous streams that when Izzy and I are working together on a color palette, we like to have range. So you'll see here as we pop in some images, we've got some darker tones. We also want to balance those with like this nice cream tone.
Yep.
Actually, this column that I just added, I'm pretty sure that is the Brooklyn courthouse. If I remember
Mm.
correctly, I actually had a client of mine that is a lawyer photographed on those exact steps. Another little known fact. Izzy, I love the typography example that you placed. That's really cool.
Thank you. I was thinking about a serif font for this just because it adds like a seriousness to it. Specifically, when I think about law, I think about a lot of documents that are probably typed in the Times New Roman or something like
Yeah.
that. So I think it matches the vibe of what we're trying to achieve here.
Let's remind our friends that uh, even if you're a lawyer or a brand that's more serious, you do not need to necessarily use Times New Roman as a font. In fact, we encourage you not to. Please avoid
Yes.
it. I see Times New Roman at my blood sugar, my blood pressure spikes. I'm like, oh God, it's like a legal contract or something. But I suppose that's why I'm a creative and not a lawyer. But you've got so many great fonts to pull from. So even if we hop over here into text, I wasn't planning on showcasing this, but even if I just place this a little bit smaller, look over here on the left-hand side. So here we can, obviously we've got our brand set up. In this case, I'm not working from a brand because the whole theme of today is I want to show you how you can build something from almost nothing. It's not nothing because we're working from a headshot, and I'll show you momentarily how we work from a resume. But what I love here in Express, the integration with Adobe fonts, we can actually preview what some of those fonts look like. So please, even if you are the least creative person on the planet, don't jump to just Times New Roman. Let's find something else that's like a little more interesting. I really like this one that I just found.
Oh yeah, this is pretty.
So what I might do, I'm going to mix up my template a little bit here. Let's actually write our brand name.
This is what I
I
wanted.
love what you're thinking. Kristen's also going to love that. Talk me through what you're doing, Izzy.
Well, here for the moodboard, it says fashion example. And the one thing that really stood out from Kristen is that beautiful bow tie here, which I can assume is a signature style. So why not add it in the mood board just to make sure that it is represented? That could be a fun icon too at some point, a way to add some personality as well.
That is genius. That is so genius. I love that you picked up on that. And that can be, as you said, like a fun little icon or symbol, maybe in a logo. We won't probably won't work a ton today on a logo. Instead, the whole theme of today is to show you how you can build something with a simple image as a starting point. So far, Izzy, I am loving this mood board. So what you did there, you placed a little shape in behind to cover that background, that to create that perfect square. So I have often found this creating a mood board like this is a great starting point for discussion with a client. So we were able to create that in what, less than 5-ish minutes, right around there. And I've also found that like you're welcome to place more than 8 images, but part of the practice of creating a mood board, which we'll talk about in my challenge coming up, part of the practice is just making sure that you edit, 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 edit. So even if you place 10, 15 images here, the goal is to whittle this down, rearrange the images, knowing there's no exact science. We typically try to have contrast with images that are placed side by side. So we wouldn't want to go all dark because we're going to need some range, hence this little cream colored column.
Mhm.
This with this nice little ombre effect. I think even though this is a serious brand, an industry that doesn't traditionally have a ton of visuals, I feel like there are some really inspired visuals here, Izzy, thanks to your help.
There is, and we have Kristen saying, "Love it. I'm all about the bow ties." So we read Kristen's right.
That's perfect. So if we are feeling good about this mood board, we can come back here. We can make adjustments. There might be a few instances where I sample some of these colors. I'm not going to assume that everyone knows exactly how to do this. So Izzy and I will be talking through in detail exactly how we do every little step, including sampling colors. So for example, I think what we should do to get this started, let's actually start from the homepage of Express. We will be using ChatGPT, but know that it could be any AI tool, generative AI tool, text-based option of your choice. Let's click that beautiful purple plus sign. And in this newly designed homepage of Express and UI, we can see here web page as an option. A web page can be often an overwhelming thing to start. And so a lot of times people don't start it because they go, I don't want to get started with that today. That's a whole thing, right, Izzy? Do you relate to that?
Oh my
I know you
goodness. I
do.
think you read my soul right then.
Yes, right. I know because it feels like a big job, and it can be a big job. But so you can see here on screen, we're looking through some of the templates. Templates are one way that this can feel less overwhelming. As we know with other content types and projects in Express, templates are a really good way to get your idea started. And I've noticed in the last few months as we've seen updates roll in to Express, one of the ones that I've loved is this recent update of Webpages, where not only is there enhanced functionality that you'll see in action today, but also the templates are better than what we had before. I really like this one. I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Notice they're organized by different types of reasons that you might use um, a web page. So it could be events, portfolio, writing samples. You're not limited to just choosing, um, by category. I generally try to remember I'm looking at the bones of the web page here. What I mean by that is like the general structure, knowing that I can even, for example, change the direction here or the placement of these two
Uh-huh.
content blocks. I'm looking, um, I'm just, yeah, I know that I can change colors. I know that I can change fonts. So friends, to prove a point, we're going to create this web page in now, well, less than 40 minutes, probably less than 30 minutes. In this case, with that amount of time, we're definitely going to want to work from a template. This is what it looks like to start. So I love with templates, I love that we can just have text here to get started. So I'll just scroll down this page so you can see. Izzy, maybe just kind of mentally take a note of the images, and I'll call them out. Let's go to the top actually. So we've got a nice big
Okay.
featured image here. We've got a smaller image. In this case, for a client who doesn't have a ton of photography but does have at least one photo that we can use, I'm going to feature that nice and big. We'll try, Izzy. We'll see what we like. If we want to put
Okay.
Kristen's photo here or here, we'll maybe try both and then make a call on what we like best.
Mm-hmm.
There's a background image here with a parallax effect, which is this kind of almost like what we would see if we were adding an animation, but actually
Mm-hmm.
applied to the image as we scroll. I love this. Obviously, we wouldn't want a film strip, so we'll find something that's a little bit more appropriate for law. I want you to just notice these content blocks as you scroll down, right? It's telling like a bit of a story. It may be that I don't have all of these details for the story today, but certainly we can pop in some text as a starting point, and Kristen can come through here when we hand this over to our client and add in or edit those final details. The beauty of Express is that even someone that's not super comfortable in other platforms like Photoshop and Illustrator, you can hop into Express and make those updates without having to learn a ton. Can I draw your attention now to this bottom kind of menu? This is very unique and something that you won't see in other content types in Express. This is unique to Webpages, and it's showing you all the different types of media that you can add to a web page. Photos, text, buttons, GIFs or GIFs, both pronunciations, because I don't want to cause any arguments today. Videos, photo grids, glide show. That's going to be a fun one for us to try, as well as split layout and your stuff. By clicking this, it's going to give us access to our files in Express saved to the cloud. So not only Adobe Express files here, you can see I've got lots of those, but also if I've got other files in Photoshop and Illustrator saved to a library, saved to my stuff, you are going to be able to access those here. I love that. That's a recent update in Webpages, which I'm a huge fan of. Before we hop over to our generative AI tool of choice, which in this case will be ChatGPT. It's the one that I know a lot of people are using, so we'll use that for today's example. Izzy, did you have any thoughts or comments? I know I'm like hogging the microphone today.
Oh, no, this is great. I'm following your lead because, as you know, this is not my preferred design. So you are the expert today. You'll change my mind by the end of the of this stream for sure.
Fantastic. So what I have done to save some time today, kind of like on a cooking show when some of the dishes are like pre-cooked, I have copied over all of that template text that we chose, okay? And so here we go. I'm just gonna hop back here to this. This is our template copy. So I literally just went Command A, copied all of the text from that, just so that I could work from somewhere that doesn't distract me with formatting. Do you do this as well, Izzy, when you're working on like a text-based project? I try to like not go to design immediately because I feel like I need to just like focus on the words and the content first.
Absolutely. This is needed
So
because you need to consolidate your ideas and making sure that you have a direction.
100%. So I find, I mean, again, the whole point of having a template is that we've got something to work from. In this case, given our time constraint, intentional, we want to work with the content blocks that are already placed here. And it's something that we or the client can adjust later on. So what I've done here is I've copied the, what we would call like dummy text, and I'm going to hop over to ChatGPT. Friends, I'm going to write a prompt. You do not need to write the prompt exactly as I do, but just kind of observe how I handle this. I'm a big believer in not, dictating the way to write a prompt into ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Magi, any of these generative AI tools. You will learn how to prompt based on your comfort level and your experience and the confidence you build in interacting with generative AI. But I'll show you an example of how I would go about doing this. So I need your help. I talk to ChatGPT just like it's a person. I need your help writing website copy for a web page today. The client is Kristen Hunsinger. I will provide more information about Kristen by pasting her LinkedIn page shortly. Before that, I will paste dummy text from the web page template for your inspiration on formatting and length. Again, friends, I'm just talking to ChatGPT like I would to Izzy, like I would to a person, like I would to someone. Okay? Do not take action yet. Very important. If you do not tell ChatGPT to not do it yet, not do anything, it will do something. So I'm going to go dummy web page text, and I'm going to paste. I'll just scroll here so you can see. I'm going to paste what I had copied over from that Google Doc, which is taken straight from this. Follow me so far?
Yes, this is very clear. Thank you.
I'm going to click enter. ChatGPT says, got it. Please send over Kristen's LinkedIn page details when you're ready, and I'll start working on the copy from there. I'll be sure to match the tone and structure to the example you provided. Fantastic. Now, if I had more time in today's stream, what I might do, this is an optional step, but it would probably get you a better result. I would upload samples of Kristen's writing. It could be essays, it could be journal entries, anything that gives a flavor of the brand voice that we're after. I'm not going to worry about it in this case, because again, the whole point is that we're starting from almost nothing, not quite nothing. We've got a LinkedIn profile, we've got a headshot, we've got some stock photos we're creating. Let me just actually highlight. So I'm just literally going to go Command A. Let me actually, I don't want to get that column. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down and literally just take information. I may come back and actually copy these skills. But for now, we're going to go back to our ChatGPT window, and I'm going to say, here's Kristen's LinkedIn page details. It may have copied over information that's not relevant or applicable. So be conscious of that. I wasn't super careful. LinkedIn page details. I wasn't super careful with my copying, so sometimes I'll just specify that, but this is looking good. I could delete some of this text if it's truly not relevant, but I don't worry too much because I'm going to let ChatGPT do the processing. So we're going to click enter here. Check this out. So it is creating paragraphs based on that dummy text we provided. We did this in 2 steps. We said, first, I'm going to show you dummy copy to inspire the length, in this case, the brand voice. Step 2, I'm going to paste a whole bunch of stuff from LinkedIn. So friends, I'm showing you here, you don't need to sit here and stare at a blank computer screen going, what should I type on my web page? With generative AI tools like ChatGPT and others, you guys often see us talking about this in the context of image generation, but today it's text that we're going to paste over to Express. You don't need to do the heavy lifting, at least to start. I'm certain that there's going to be some edits that will need to be made here, but it is so much faster to make these edits after the fact and lean on generative AI to get the idea started. Izzy, it's no different than you and I talking about logo creation several weeks ago. You and I agree that like humans should still be designing really beautiful logos. Generative AI can kickstart the idea, and this is an example of that in a different context.
Absolutely. And it helps specifically if you're frozen. Whenever you're doing your own website, you're like, where do I start? Like, I know what I'm good at. I know where I want to go, but I don't know how to write about myself. So if you do have a page like LinkedIn set up, or even something that I have done too with AI in order for AI to recognize my tone of voice, is I would copy some captions on my Instagram that I liked, and then I say, study that. And then in the voice of my captions, can you write me an about page? And I want you to make sure to highlight. And then I give a bulleted list. And it's crazy how good the outcome is. I still need to edit afterwards, but it is getting me a lot faster to the end results than I would when I would write it myself. Because I'm a designer, I'm no copywriter.
And you also said before we started this stream, you were like, I hate doing websites. And I'm like on a mission today to make sure that you at least know that it's not as painful as it seems.
Yeah, it's making the decisions for yourself. I think that is painful. If you agree
Absolutely.
if you agree with me, everyone in the chat who are watching, please let us know. Even if you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments. And maybe we can talk about that. Like, how can you overcome that painfulness of, doing it for for yourself? Because it is hard. It is hard to do it for yourself.
It is. In the meantime, you can see I'm inputting some text here. Keep in mind that Webpages and Express are not going to be the functionality you would want to build out a full website, but think about like a landing page, think about an event page, a workshop coming up, or a simple web page to showcase your portfolio, writing samples, visual examples. Think about that in the context of kind of what we're doing with this or how we're using it today. This is also very cool. Check this out. We can actually now add image alt text. That is incredibly important for web because unlike generative AI, although it's getting, it's getting more advanced, it's still a good practice to, to tell Google, I'm going to say Google, but tell search what the image is. And it's another opportunity to, try to get your website to rank when people type your name into Google, depending on how competitive your name is as a keyword. There's lots of factors here. What's fun, I never get to talk about these things, Izzy. We never talk about websites. This is my world. I love it.
I love that
So,
you love it.
yes, you're like you love it so that I don't have to.
Exactly.
Izzy, I now want your opinion on where we want to keep Kristen's image. I popped it in both spots just so we could compare. We can look at the layout here. What are you vibing with?
Personally, I think the smaller one makes more sense. And the reason for me
Agreed.
saying this is because of the type of content that is going to go on this page. Now, if it
Yes.
was like a very prominent personal brand, like if we were to do it for you, Phil, say for example, I would
Or a
put you as
photographer or a
yes,
model or someone that's like, very visual oriented, or, you want to show an environment. I agree with you
exactly.
that the smaller one is going to be better for us.
And I think for the big one, it should be something that whenever people are consuming that above the fold content, they can automatically understand, oh, this is about law. So I think we need to have
Yes.
an image that represents like what law is visually.
I love it. Are you able to, have I shared you on this web page? Do you want to pop in an image there? And I'll continue working on
So
the
did you create a new file or are you working for the previous
I'm working
file?
from the one that I should have shared you already.
Okay.
So see
Okay.
if you're able to refresh on your end. If not, no worries. I'll upload an image there, but we're going to tag team this and make some progress. Chat,
Okay.
I've barely paid attention to and I feel horrible about it. D Design, hello, Robert. Mike agrees. Daring Northern Adventures, nice. How fun. Thanks, guys, for being here. So I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT. What I'm also going to make sure I do is I generally don't like to work out of ChatGPT unless I'm still iterating on the text. So I'm going to I prefer Google Docs or something else in that way, just so that I can see it here. I do have a bad habit of losing chats in ChatGPT. I use it so often, and then I go in here and I look at all my chats. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things in here. Where do I? So I try to be good about just making sure that I'm organized here.
So I just want to make sure I added an image. I just want to see that you can see it.
Let me hit refresh.
Yeah.
See if it works on my end. Oh no. Hold on. Hold on.
Sorry, everyone.
Unable at this time. You know what? It
There you
looks
go.
like only one of us can edit at the same time. I'm learning.
Okay.
I'm
There you
learning,
go.
Izzy. So that's good for us to know. I shared you on the document. Um, I don't know if you access it, Izzy. Do you want to upload that image, or should I go ahead and do it?
Let's let you can do it since you're more
Okay.
familiar with this.
Okay. You're like, get me out of here. You're like, I'll just, yeah. You're like, I'm here, but you do it, Phil. That's
Oh,
fine, Izzy,
yeah.
because that's normally how I am on these shows. So
I'll be
this is
your
actually
moral
good learning.
support.
Yes. I'm usually your moral support role switched. This is a good learning moment for us, unable to open the document. So, and it makes sense. If you've used Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, any of these popular website tools, it is exactly the same. You can't really have co-creation like you saw a minute ago with mood boards. Web doesn't really work the same way. It's really tricky to save all of these elements simultaneously if there's two sources. So good little lesson. I'm going to click take over. I like that Express is actually, but I see your image, Izzy. It looks amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
I love that. So Izzy just popped in a nice little environment context photo, which I'm really digging. And then I'm going to work here from this copy. Oh, there we go. A little about me. I'm going to leave that. We're going to change the color and the fonts. shortly. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave those headers and just pop in this new body text. Friends, I want to see in the chat, have you used Express web pages before? And also, have you used them recently? Because we've had some really exciting updates in here that I think you're going to enjoy. Again, I don't think that this tool is necessarily a substitute for a full website build out, but certainly for creating a landing page, a web page in this case. Kristen doesn't have a ton to work with, and I'm trying to prove a point. With just a headshot in a LinkedIn profile, we're able to actually create so much from that.
I think
We
it could
will
be good
change
too
the...
if you wanted to start something just to like test things out. Like we're seeing a nice parallax here with the background image from the template that you have selected. But I think it's something that you can start with and then even give to a web developer or a friend if you're not someone who can code website, and maybe say, hey, I really like this. Can you take this and take it further? Or maybe you learn how to do it for later on if you want to build on top of it. I think this is great for ideation as well, as much as having something temporarily, as you mentioned, Phil.
I completely agree. There's so many instances where like we have an idea in our head and it's like, okay, what would it take to just have a first version of that, you know? And I guess I don't want people to feel like they can't move forward with something. And Express web pages, it's not designed to replace Squarespace, WordPress, Shopify, Weebly, Wix, any of these popular website building tools. It's not designed to replace that, but it is designed for you to be able to use this for whatever you need. And I think, creating an online portfolio is a perfect example. So I'm going to leave this section at the bottom. In
I love that
fact,
section.
you like this section. Of course you do, because it's full of
It's really nice.
visuals.
Yeah, exactly. We have Robert in the chat saying, no, I haven't used when you say DW, is it Dreamweaver? Is that what you mean, Robert? Or do you mean the web pages in After Effects? And we have Ray here saying no, but it's a starting point, which we absolutely agree.
Correct. It is
Oh,
a starting point.
we have a really good question here from Ray. Can you export the Adobe Express web page to another application like Adobe Dreamweaver?
That is a good question. I am not aware of that capability. I do not believe that it is possible. However, that would be cool. I'll mention that Express web pages you don't have quite the options available to you in terms of, for example, setting up a custom domain. I would imagine this feature will eventually roll out. I don't know. I don't work at Adobe. I work with Adobe. But I'd imagine as they build this out, we saw some recent updates to the design and the content blocks, as well as the templates. I would imagine we could see that coming in the near future. Now also might be a good time for me, since we're talking about that. People might go, well, how do I, when I go to click share, see? So let me show you how this looks a little different from what you might be used to using. In your Express projects, people go, well, what is the URL? Like how do I, if I create this web page, how will people find it? So much like if you were going to send a template to web or publish it on the web, you go through that same workflow. As you can see here in the top right, it will give you a link, and that is the URL to access this web page. And I'll open a new browser tab and I'll show you. By the way, Izzy, I don't know if I've ever showed you my free Google Chrome extension that puts a different cat called
Oh
Tabby
my
Cat
gosh.
every time I open a new browser tab. I feel like that's something you probably need.
This is definitely, I think you just made my day with that little animation.
Well, I was like, I should probably acknowledge it if everyone's staring at my browser tab going, what the heck is that? I have a free Google Chrome extension called Tabby Cat. I'm not even a cat person, but I love this extension.
I need
So
this.
proof that that URL that Express just gave us when we clicked share and then publish to web, it gave us that URL. It works. Now, what if you, I think, Robert, this is where you were going with your question. What if you want to have a bit more control over making sure, for example, this URL that is generated in Express shows up at, say, khunsinger.com? Well, I purchased that domain yesterday. Kristen, you're welcome. And in my GoDaddy
Oh,
account here, yes, now I own it.
lucky.
If you behave, I'll hand it over.
Oh,
So it's so it's in my GoDaddy account. I chose GoDaddy because I know that this is a provider that a lot of people use. Check this out. When you go into DNS on a domain, it can look a little scary, but let me just walk you through how you can set up your Express web page to show at a custom URL. You would click into the DNS. You're going to ignore DNS records and focus here just on forwarding. So what we can do is we can forward this domain that we own and have access to the DNS. You might use GoDaddy or any other popular domain provider. And then we can set up forwarding here where we set the destination, which is that Express URL. And then we would just, let me go into edit so you can see this in action. I would here choose the secure version. So HTTPS, that Express URL that we would paste right there. And you have this option. It might look a little different depending on your domain provider. I promise we'll get back over to Express. I know this is boring, but it's important. It's important. Here we choose forwarding with masking. And masking, I know I'm scaring all the creatives. They're like, get me out of here. This looks too technical. Unless they're a web designer, then they're totally safe here. Forwarding with masking is what you would use to basically say, this is where we'll send people, but we'll show it as the domain. So in this case, this is the web address. It is being masked as khunsinger.com. Is that clear, Izzy, as a representation of our audience? And I know you're watching the chat.
So essentially,
So
it's a redirect. So they're taking the link that was created, and then it's redirecting it to the link, the URL that you have purchased.
that's exactly what it is. There's kind of some technical differences there, but for the purpose of this, absolutely, it is a redirect with masking, which means it shows, when it's set up properly, it shows the URL that you've owned and set up as the masked address. So I'll click save.
So a redirect. So, okay, let me explain. So you're saying that a redirect, even if you type in, let's say, the current address, when you land on the page, it will show the long URL that Adobe Express would
it will
have
not
generated, but because of the masking. If you don't mask, then yes.
You got it. So I know it's a
Okay.
little small in my browser tab, so I'll read this out, but I just typed in khunsinger.com. It took effect in just seconds. Sometimes it'll take around an hour to update a DNS, but have a look. We are live editing.
Look at that.
Now. Yes. So friends, if you are like, well, how do I, Express is giving me this great, let's go back to the tab, it's giving me this great big long URL. My recommendation is use a domain that you own or pick up a domain quickly that, that you want to use for your event or for your portfolio. And it's really as easy as that. Setting up forwarding with masking means that no one else is going to know that you even made this in Adobe Express. How cool is that?
Sneaky.
So we have a few more minutes here to probably do some other styling on here. So I'm just going to hop in here. I almost wonder, Izzy, if I should let you take over. I know you've got a couple stock photos that we could pop in. What do you think?
Okay.
Well, hold on, actually, because I want to show something. This is the glide show. So remember we saw that as an option. I talked about it, but I didn't explain it. This is really unique to Express, but it's that parallax effect. I call it parallax. They call it gliding. So let's actually change this. So edit photos. I'm going to type legal here. And I'm hoping to find that great.
How's it called? Is it a mallet? Like how that?
Yeah, what is that thing called? The
Like, yeah, exactly. Kristen, we need your help right now.
What is that thing called? The mallet?
Is it a
Is it a
mallet?
mallet? The
Let's see if
hammer?
I don't think it's a
Ooh,
hammer.
I like this one. You're like, it's definitely not a hammer, Phil.
Yeah, I think it's a mallet.
A
Wait, judge
mallet.
mallet.
So I'm
If
going to
I do,
remove these
if I,
film strips. A
because I think it,
judge mallet.
a judge mallet, and I think it could be fun instead of that first film if we had a judge mallet, but we remove the background and it's kind of just floating, and then that text just floats on top of it.
Ooh, that's interesting. So, oh, there's the image that I was looking for. Okay, friends. So see, we are literally just
Oh,
working.
it's a gavel.
Gavel, that's it. I knew we
Gavel.
were close, Izzy. I was like, I know it's two syllables, but I don't think that's quite right. Can you tell that we're creatives? Designers, not lawyers.
Oh
Let
my
me just click.
goodness. It's a lot of people came to our rescue here. I think it's worth mentioning them. So we have, of course, Kristen, we have Rick, we have CKD Design Lab, we have Idara and D Design. They all at once. It was like a waterfall in the chat. It's like gavel, gavel, gavel.
And these are all people that are shaking their heads. They're like,
Yes.
oh my
Oh
God,
well.
Phil and Izzy have no idea what they're talking about. But we do know how to design a web page in
Mm-hmm.
Express, which is something we've never done on this show before. So I'm just scrolling here to see. I may need to paste my text again, how I got here. And after that, we were going to do this section, background and
So
education. This is why we save text externally from Express, because as I popped in those different images, the text for the glide section, the glide show, was associated with that block. So by removing those images, it means that I need to pop in that
hmm.
that text again. I also didn't know that, but this is a good little learning moment.
So Phil, can you change the fonts here? Because right now it's not mirroring the mood board.
Yes, I knew that was going to bother you. Let me just, I'm teasing you.
Oh
Let
my
me just
goodness.
paste in this text and then we're going to, we'll work on styling this in our last few minutes.
We have a really funny comment right now from CKD
Can't wait.
Design saying shaking our gavels instead of shaking their heads. So,
I
yeah,
love it.
yes.
I love it. Yes, that's exactly how we are feeling. But Izzy, I love that we can like continue to try different things and express, you know? This was like
Hmm.
this was a fun one. This is one that I've always wanted to do. I want people to feel like you don't need to have a ton to get started. Like you probably have a LinkedIn profile and you've probably chipped away over the years at making sure that it's at least somewhat updated with all the cool things you've done in your life. And so this is an example, right, of how that's something you can literally leverage by copying and pasting it into
Hmm.
ChatGPT and saying, I need you to take this info and I need you to make it look like this, right? And it does exceptionally well with those kinds of use cases.
I
So,
can see something like this. Like, where was this when I was applying for jobs 10 years ago when people were
yeah,
asking me, can we see your portfolio? And it was not like completely done. And I had to stay up all night in order to finish that portfolio. This would have like cut the work in half, maybe even more. And something else that I wanted to mention, because this is something that I personally do in order to write about the work. Like if you are creative and you're thinking of doing case studies, sometimes it's hard to talk about the work because you're so attached and you're so close to it. Try having a speech to text app by talking about the work, because sometimes talking about it is easier than writing about it, and then
amen.
bring that into ChatGPT or whatever AI and say, I need to build a case study. You could say who is going to read that case study, and then paste what you have literally just said, and this is going to help you to shape the writing for that case study.
I love it. I love it. That's such a good idea. I use text to transcription all the time. Izzy, I find it so, so helpful just to get my
Mm-hmm.
ideas out of my head. And again, they don't have to be perfect. Even when you're pasting things with typos, other
Yep.
formatting into ChatGPT, you
Hmm.
generally don't need to worry about cleaning that up super well. It's just a kind of a new way of working and a new way of thinking. And I think it's important to showcase some of those little, moments of learning,
Absolutely.
that we all have.
We have a question right here from Rick asking, can we push this to Behance?
Good question. I don't believe so. I think web pages or projects on Behance are almost like a different content type, Rick. It's a really good question. I don't have experience with that. So when we click up here to share, again, I believe we have a few options. We can invite collaborators, as I did, Izzy. I added you on this. We learned
Mhm.
today that we can't edit together at the same time, but we can hand it off. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So you and I
that's
could
cool.
still be working together like we did today. And like I could hand it off to you to pop in images. You could hand it back to me to work on text. That still worked really beautifully. Also, really cool is that we have analytics here. So
Ooh.
that's really neat. And then I want to show a few other things here. Publishing options, Rick. So I don't believe we can push this to Behance, but you can still have some other Express-like settings. So if I want to publish that I'm the author, I can. If I want to make this a remixable template, I can.
Wow.
Um, Turning this on the header and footer, that's a simple toggle on or off if you want a header and a footer. And I love this. In fact, I'm going to turn this on for the time being. We can actually password protect this page. So if we want, let's see, I have to put a number and a letter. But that way, as we're working on this, that's going to actually put a password that I'm going to give to Kristen as we finalize this. I'm going to protect it with a password, and that's going to help with preventing things from, like, getting this picked up by Google before we're ready. We want to put the finishing touches on it. So it's a little link here under share publish options. That's where you're going to want to go for that. And then here we can share this to Facebook, to X, to LinkedIn, email. We can also embed it, which is really cool. Let's say you've got like an existing website and you're wanting to quickly create, I don't know, a web page for an event coming up. You can actually embed this. It will give you the embed code by clicking here that you could paste into your website tool. And that might be another instance or use case
That's cool.
for this.
2 more questions. So the first one
Great.
is, can you add video and audio to the website?
Yes, you can. I haven't tried adding audio, but I believe it is a content type. If not, you can definitely add video. So what I would recommend doing if you struggle with just an audio file, we'll hop over there and look at that a second, but I would just upload it as a video with, you could do like a black screen or maybe some text that describes what it is. Let me show you this in our final few minutes, Izzy, because you asked about it. Styling the text and the background colors, even the button styles. That's one thing that I want to make sure that I have here before we finish this project, for example, is a button that would link over to LinkedIn, for example. And so making those adjustments is as simple here as choosing some colors. We could also get
Wow.
Kristen's brand set up in Express as we've done many, many times before. And that would then make it even easier. So we don't have to manually enter these custom hex codes from the mood board. We could literally just have that brand ready and available. We don't have that yet because we just made it together. But if we did, we could, updating those buttons and assets are that simple. Here, even button text, we can change button styles. And I love that you can see this little preview here on the right-hand side.
Wow. This
So
is
obviously
awesome.
we didn't go into as much detail on that today, but I want to at least show you where these style controls are for web pages in Express. Upload logos. Maybe we do something with that bow tie later on. Izzy, I love that idea, but all of these settings are right here in terms of style controls, colors, etc. So I'm going to click save for now. Again, we didn't go into as much detail on the styling, but it's very straightforward. What I wanted you to see today was, how do we create something with almost nothing, just a headshot and a LinkedIn profile? Certainly you could adapt this. Maybe you've got an old website that needs some updating. Maybe you just need some new updates and inspiration.
Another
Um,
quick question, because this is from
yeah.
Rick again. Is this a responsive design?
Yes, Rick, thank you so much for asking that. That popped into my mind a few minutes ago and then I got sidetracked. You'll notice that there are some constraints in Adobe Express. You can't control and format everything. Part of the reason is that this web page is fully responsive. In fact, it looks
Wow.
even better on mobile. And if you want to see this in action, it's actually at khunsinger.com. I'll turn off that password for now. I'll turn it on in a few days. I'll work with Kristen to get the last few edits made. Let me just turn that password off for now. If you want to see how this looks, this prototype, you can see it in action, khunsinger.com. It looks amazing on mobile, and that's part of the reason that Express has these constraints in place, so you don't have control over everything. So yes, these are responsive, and it means that they'll look absolutely perfect on mobile. This was fun, Izzy. This was
This was
fun.
so
I can't
fun.
believe an hour has already passed.
I
Friends,
know.
we tried to do something new and something exciting today with a new content type, a new project type, I should say, that we haven't done before on Ask a Designer. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope it was something new. Let us know what you thought in the comments. Of course, stick around today. You'll see my face in another about half an hour, kicking off this month with a creative challenge. We're going to be talking a little bit more about mood boards as well as your brand sentence. I've got an exercise and a remixable template for you coming up. Izzy, we'll see you back here, not next week because we'll be together at Max.
Yes,
Fingers,
but
limbs, toes crossed.
yeah,
That
that
weather doesn't
everything goes
prevent us from
well.
being there.
Yes. But we'll
Yes,
see you the after Max, everyone.
you got it. We'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.